Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a sand background in Adobe Illustrator 2021, like the one you see here. I've made this sort of plane crash in a desert landscape. So the first thing you're going to want to do is create a new document. It can be whatever size you like. I chose a landscape A4 size. From there, what you're going to want to do is head over to the Layers panel in the top right and define a layer as your background layer. From there, you're going to head over to the rectangle tool and draw a rectangle the size of your workspace. Once you've done that, you're going to head up to the Properties tab and you're going to choose a fill color for your rectangle. This color is basically going to be the default color for your sand. If you don't have a color, you can go to one of the inbuilt libraries here, just under the Natures panel. Go to Beach. A little tab will pop up, scroll down, and this is the folder that I like to use here. It's got some nice sand colors. Click the folder icon and it'll now pop up in the Fill tab. There we are, so we've got all the colours here. I like to pick this one. And then what we're going to do after this is head back to layers. We're going to lock this one and we're going to create a new layer, and this is going to be our sand foreground layer. So we're going to draw another rectangle the size of your artboard. And after we've done this, we're going to select our rectangle and head up to Object. I'm going to go down to Create Gradient Mesh, and then a window is going to pop up asking you how many rows and columns you want your mesh to be. So basically this is going to determine how many ripples in the sand you have. So I usually go with 20 and 20, and then we're going to hit OK, and you'll see that your rectangle split up into this grid-like pattern. After that, we're going to go up to the Lasso Selection tool. You can get this by right-clicking on the Direct Selection tool, like so, and then we're going to select our rectangle and we're going to loop by holding down the right mouse button around the top row of our mesh. We're going to go to Fill and we're going to set this as the lighter sand color that we have. Then we're going to do the same thing with the row below it, but this time we're going to set it as the darker color. You're going to want to do this on your whole artboard. It doesn't have to be straight lines. You can put some of them at an angle, that way it looks more natural. And there we go, and then after this you'll see that I leave a row. So I skip the next red line and I go to the one below it, and I just repeat this pattern. I go light color followed by a dark color followed by a normal color. So I'm not going to do my whole workspace, it is time consuming. If you like, when you're creating your gradient mesh, you can create less rows. So I use 20, but you could use less. It'd just mean that you have less ripples in the sand. So after that, you're going to go to the Lasso Selection tool, which you get to by right-clicking the Direct Selection tool, and you're going to click on one of the nodes, and I'm just going to drag that node from our darker sand up towards the nodes for our lighter sand, and that gives us the effect of the sun casting a tiny little shadow from these tiny little sand ripples. So we're not going to do this in a uniform way. Some of them we're going to bring the light color down to the darker color, and some of them we're going to bring the darker color up to the lighter color, and that just gives a sort of wavy pattern of the sand. You know, when you go to the beach, the sand ripples aren't in straight lines, they're like squiggly things. And so there we go. So as you can see, it's already starting to look like sand. Again, this is a time-consuming process, but we just want it to look natural as possible, so we're going to spend a lot of time sort of randomizing how we're drawing these ripples. We're not going to bring the nodes completely together because that'll just make the ripples look way too sharp and it'll look silly. We just want them to sort of fade from a light color to a darker color, like so. Once you're done with that, you're going to change the opacity of the rectangle to about 50%. You can play with this later, but just set it to 50% for now. And then we're going to lock the foreground layer and unlock our background layer and select our background rectangle, that one we made at the start. We're going to head down under Appearance to Effects, and we're going to go down to Texture. Second one from the bottom, and then click on Grain. This big window is going to pop up, and you're going to see this sort of pixelated version of our rectangle. You can play with the intensity. You can see you put it up to 100, and it looks kind of ridiculous. Looks like TV static. We're going to set it at about 70 for now. You can come back and play with it later, but just set it to about 70 for now and then hit OK, and our rectangle will become grainy. Now because the rectangle we put in front of it is slightly opaque, we can come back and play with it, and you'll notice we still see the graininess behind it. So you turn the opacity up if you want it to look less grainy with more defined ripples, and you can turn it down to see less of the ripples. You can even go back to the other rectangle and play with the graininess if you want it to look more sandy. But yeah, that's basically it. So I hope yours looks better than mine. I only did about a quarter of the page, but yeah, thanks for watching.